Don't mind the dog. She won't bite.
Evening, sir. Lovely to see you. Thank you, sir. And not forget yourself. You've got dressed up. Last night with no smoking in it. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mirth Marquee, fit to birth with glee, the big, big top where the fun don't stop. Tonight you shall behold a flurry of the most fabulous feats ever to be seen in our thriving nature. A myriad of marvels that the Queen herself would quiver at. A name of curiosity to confound the richest man and the poorest. Ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cleary Circus!
But always strictly moral performers who have to be seen to be the lead. Miss Josephine Sleary of the one and only equestrian dance act. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, our company is proud to present a previously unperformed diversion, the like of which has never been seen before. And of course, Miss Emma Gordon. Formerly, official performing clown to the Governor of Calcutta himself. Slary Shaka! But tonight, our company is proud to present a previously unperformed diversion, the like of which has never been seen before. The tale that is about to unravel is one of suicide, raping, and gun. It takes as its situation one of the blackest and dankest boroughs of this sectored eye. Our happy troop some time ago set down in that place. There is no remedy for a town like Brighton. Hotel England is as dismal a corner as ever the Lord invented. It is a town of machinery and tall chimneys where interminable circles of snakes smoke snake on forever and ever and never get uncorked. It has piles of buildings where there is a trembling and a jangling all day long, and where the piston of the steam engine works up and down monotonously like the head of an elephant in a state of melancholy madness. It is inhabited by people equally like one another, who go in and out at the same hour to make the same sound on the same pavement, to do the same work, and to whom every day is the same as yesterday and tomorrow, and every year the counterpart of the last and the next. Unless there is another kind of diversion to break the monotony. Now, squeezed between the black looming factories, there was a model school that Thomas Brighton so far will fetch your boys and girls.
Now, what I want is facts. Thomas Gradgrind, ladies and gentlemen, a man of realities, with a set of scales and a rule and multiplication tables always in his pocket, ready to weigh and measure any parcel of human nature and tell you exactly what it comes to. Now, teach these boys and girls nothing but facts. Facts alone are wanted in life. You can only form the minds of reasoning animals with facts. Nothing else will ever be of service to them. Girl number 20. I don't know girl number 20. Who's that girl?
Sissy Jupe, sir.
Sissy is not a name. Call yourself Cecilia.
It's father who's calls me Sissy.
Well, tell him he mustn't. Now, Cecilia Jupe, what is your father?
He belongs to the horse riding at the circus.
We don't want to hear anything about that here. Now, give me your definition of a horse. Girl number 20. Unable to define a horse. Some young boy's definition, pizza? Yours.
Crutchpick, gramnivorous, 40 teeth, namely 24 grinders, 4 eye teeth and 12 incisive. Jets caught in marshy countries. Jets hooves too, age known by mark and month.
Good. Now, girl number 20. You know what your horse is.
Thomas Gradgrind walked homeward from his school.
In a state of considerable satisfaction.
Gradgrind's school was to be a model.
And he intended all the pupils in it to be models.
Just as the young Gradgrinds were both models.
The 2 young model Gradgrinds had been lectured at from their tenderest years.
Almost as soon as they had learnt to run alone, they had sooner made to run to the lecture room.
No young Gradgrind had ever seen the face in the moon. No young Gradgrind had ever learned a silly little jingle. Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
An incredible phenomenon, Thomas! Louisa, what in the name of wonder, idleness and folly do you here?
Wanted to see what it was like.
What it was like?
Yes, Father. The circus.
You, Thomas, and you, to whom the circle of the sciences is open, I'm amazed.
I was tired, Father. I've been tired a long time. Of everything, I think.
Enough! Not another word. You are childish. What would Mr. Boundary say?
Mr. Bounderby, ladies and gentlemen, is made of a coarse material, as seemed to have been stretched to make so much of him. A man with such a strained skin to his face that it held his eyes open and lifted his eyebrows up. A man with a pervading appearance on him of having been inflated like a balloon. And here we find him on the occasion of his 49th birthday at the home of his good and trusted friend, Mr. Thomas Gradgrind.
The richest man in Coketown was bound to be banker, merchant, manufacturer, and whatnot. Presenting the
Body of Humility!
I hadn't a shoe to my foot until I was 15. As to a stocking, never knew such a thing by name. I passed the day in a ditch and the night in a pigsty. That's the way I spent my birthday as a child. Not that a ditch was new to me. I was born in a ditch.
I do hope it was a dry one, Mr. Bounderby. Mrs. Gradgrind, a white, pink-eyed bundle of shawls of surpassing feebleness.
Wet as a sock, man. Foot of water in it. Enough to give a baby a cold.
And were you called often in your ditch?
Cold? I was born with information of the lung man. And of everything else, I believe, that is capable of information.
I do so very much hope that your mother...
Mother? Bolted, man. Left me to my grandmother, who, according to the best of my remembrance, was the wickedest and worst old lady that ever lived. If I ever got a pair of shoes by any chance, she'd take them off and sell them for a drink. Yes. She had a chandler's shop. Kept me in an egg box. Yes, I was to pull through it, I suppose, Mrs. Gradgrind. I pulled through it, and nobody threw me out a rope. No. Vagabond, errand boy, vagabond, labourer, porter, clerk, manager, chief partner, Josiah Bounderby of Coketown. You told Josiah Bounderby of Coketown, your model school, and your training schools, and your district schools, and your whole kettle of fish schools. And Josiah Bounderby of Coketown tells you plain all right, all correct. He hadn't such advantages. But let him have solid-fisted, hard-headed people, huh? He knows his education won't do for everybody. He knows that well. Such and such his education was, however. And you may force him to swallow boiling fat, but you will never get him to suppress the facts of his life. My eminently practical friend, and Louisa. Whatever is the matter with young Thomas and the dumps about?
We were peeping at the circus and Father called us.
And Mrs. Gradgrind, I'd have soon have expected to find my children reading poetry.
Oh, dear me. Well, Thomas and Louisa, I wonder at you. What could you possibly want to know of circuses?
Oh, with my head in its present state, I couldn't remember the names of half the facts you've got to attend to.
That's the reason.
Don't you give me that's the reason, because it can be nothing of the sort. Oh, go and do something illogical. Directly.
Bounderby, you're so very interested in my young people, particularly Louisa, that I'll make no apology for telling you I am very vexed by this discovery. Could it be that despite all our precautions, some idle storybook has crept into the house?
Stop the bit. You're one of those strollers children in the school.
Cecilia Jewell.
I know she don't regularly belong to this town, sir, but I was just hoping that you might consider taking her in, sir. There's other girls in the school, or so I've heard, and I was just wondering whether or not you might consider just taking another, sir.
You are right, Bounderby. You are right. It must be the girl, Jew.
Now, tell you what, Greg, you turn this girl to the right about, and there's an end to it.
Oh, I'm much of your opinion.
Do it at once. That has always been my motto since a child. When I decided to run away from my grandmother and my egg box, I did so at once. Do you the same?
Thomas! Louisa! Mr. Bounderby is about to leave us. I'll just get that address from my study, Mr. Bounderby.
Now then, Louisa. Now then, young Tom. It's all right now. I'll answer for it being all over with your father. Now then, Louisa. It's worth a kiss, isn't it?
You can take one if you like, Mr. Bounderby.
Good night.
What are you about, Lou? You'll rub a hole in your face.
You can cut a piece out of your penknife if you like, Tom. I wouldn't cry.
She stood on the same spot, rubbing the cheek he had kissed with her handkerchief till it was burning red. She was still doing this 5 minutes.
The name of the public house where Signor Duke was staying, apparently, was called the Pegasus Arms.
Good malt makes good beer, walk in and draw it here. Good wine makes good brandy, give us a call when you find it handy.
Father is not in our room, sir. If you wouldn't mind waiting here, I'll fetch him directly. He must have gone down to the booth, sir. I'll bring him in a minute.
What does she mean? In a minute, it's more than a mile off.
By your leaves, gentlemen. I believe you were wishing to see Jude.
Indeed we were. We can't stay long, therefore, if you please, I'll leave a message for him with you.
Yes. You see, my friend, we are the kind of people who know the value of time. And you are the kind of people who don't know the value of time.
If you mean that you can make more money of your time than I can of mine, then I should judge from your appearance that you're about right.
And when you made it, you can keep it.
Get him, Insta, stole that.
Why was he coming
Stop it! Sir, I was addressing myself to you. You may or may not be aware that Duke has missed his tip very often lately.
What has he missed?
His tip.
I was very loose in his pulling.
He didn't do what he ought to. He was short in his leaps and bad in his tumbling.
Oh, that's tip, is it?
Yeah.
You were going to give me a message for Duke.
Indeed.
Then my opinion is, he will never receive it. It's pretty plain to me. He's off.
Do you mean he has deserted his daughter?
I mean that he has cut. He was goose last night, he was goose the night before last, and he was goose today. He has lately got in the habit of always being goose, and he can't stand it.
Why has he been so very much goose?
Oh, his joints are turning still.
good, Gradgrind, huh? A man so fond of his daughter he runs away from her. This is devilish good. Young man, you may be astonished to hear this, but I have not always occupied my present station of life. My mother ran away from me.
Really?
Aye. My mother ran away from me and I was born in a ditch. What do I call her for it? Possibly the worst and wickedest lady that ever lived in this world, apart from a drunken grandmother. I'll tell you what the Duke is. He's a runaway rogue and a vagabond. That's what he is, in English.
It matters not to me, sir, what he is and what he is not, whether in English or whether in French. Duke sent his daughter out on an errand not an hour ago and then was seen to slip out himself. She will not believe it of him, sir. But he's run away and left her. But I suppose he had this move in his mind and considered her provided for.
Well, we had come here to tell her that her connections made her no longer an object for the school and she should no longer attend. But if, as you say, her father has deserted her with no connivance on her part, well, Bounderby, could I have a word with you?
At the same time, in another part of town, the men and women of the factories followed their nightly servants through the narrow streets of Coketown and made their way home.
Among the Coketown hands was a certain Stephen Blackwood, 40 years of age.
It is said that every life has its roses and its thorns.
There seems, however, to have been a mistake in Stephen's case, whereby he had become possessed of somebody else's thorns and they had become possessed of his roses.
He was usually called Old Stephen, in a kind of rough homage to the fact.
Rachel, I thought I missed thee.
No.
Early tonight, lass.
Times I'm a bit early, Stephen. Times I'm a bit late. I'm never to be counted on going home.
No. No going to the way, it seems to me.
No, Stephen. Rachel had taken great pity on Stephen many years ago, and to her only he had opened his closed heart concerning his miseries, and he knew very well that if he had been free to ask her, she would take him. We're such old friends, Stephen, and get to be such old folk now.
No, you're as young as you ever were.
One of us would be puzzled how to get old without the other getting old too, both being alive. Oh, we're such old friends, and to hide a word of honest truth from one another would be a sin and a pity. It is better not to walk too much together.
It is hard, Rachel.
Try to think not, and it will seem better.
Well, I've tried and it ain't got better. But all right. Wonderful talk. Oh, thou hast done me such good, and heartened me in that cheering way that thy word is law to me, lass. Aye, and a good, bright law. Better than some other ones.
Oh, never fret about them, Stephen. Let the laws be.
Aye, aye. Let them be, let them be. 'Tis a model.
Always?
Aye, lass. Always. And there I stick. I come to the muddle again and again and I'll never get beyond it. Good night. Dear lass. Good night.
She went, her neat figure and sober, womanly step down the dark street. He stood looking at her until she turned into one of the small houses.
The clouds were sailing fast and wildly.
The moon shone, looking down the high chimneys of Coketown, on the deep furnaces below, casting titanic shadows of the steam engines at rest on the walls where they were lodged.
Stephen's home, in another such street as this, was over a little shop.
It was a room, as neat as any such room could be.
Mrs. Blackville was a wretched, drunken creature. Respectable people thought it was a shameful thing to even look upon her. All she had in the world was what she stole or begged.
Going to the hearth, the lair candle down upon the table, Stephen realised that he was not alone.
Back again.
Back again. What? Aye. Back again! Back again ever so often! Why not? Come away from bed! It's mine! Have a right to it! I'll sell thee off again! I'll sell thee off a score of times! Back again!
Stephen knew that he would never make a home while this desolate woman was bound to him.
The members of Sleary Circus, who kept their homes on their backs like snails, were at home in wandering and wondering.
They awaited the proclamation from the combined intellect of Misters Gradgrind and Bounderby.
No, I say no, Gradgrind. I cannot advocate it.
Well, Squire, is it your intention to do anything for the poor girl?
I shall have something to propose to her when she comes back.
Glad to hear it, Squire. Not that I want to get rid of the girl any more than I'm to stand in her way. I'm willing to take a apprentice, though at her age of 8.
Hush, she's come back.
Oh, my dear, good, kind father. Where have you gone? You've gone away to try and do me some good. I know. You've gone away for my sake. I am sure.
Come people along. Now this is wanton waste of time. Let the girl take it from me, being run away from myself. Yeah, what's your name? Your father is absconding. He's deserted you, and you mustn't expect to see him again for as long as you live.
Shame on you! I'll tell you what, Squire. To be plain to you, my opinion is that you better cut it short and drop it. There are very good natured people, my people, but they're accustomed to be quick in their movements, and if you don't act upon my advice, I'm damned if I don't believe they'll pitch you out the window.
I will take charge of you, Cecilia Duke, and educate you, and provide for you. The only condition over and above your good behaviour is that you decide, now, at once, whether to accompany me or to remain here. And also, that if you decide to accompany me, it is understood you no more communicate with any of those persons here present. That is the whole of the case. I hope you know your own mind, Duke. Say no more.
Give me my clothes. Give me my clothes and let me go away before I break my heart.
The basket packed in silence, they brought her shawl to her, smoothed her disordered hair, and put it on.
I do wish her father hadn't taken the dog with him. It would ill convenience to have the dog taken out the ambulance. But on second thought, he wouldn't have performed without his master, so it was as broad as it was long.
You are a dear brother, Tom.
I wish I could collect all the facts we hear so much about, and all the figures, and all the people who found them out, and I wish I could put 1,000 barrels of gunpowder under them, and put it all up together. However, when I go to live with old Bounderby, I'll have my revenge.
Your revenge, Tom?
I mean, I'll enjoy myself a little. I'll recompense myself for the way in which I've been brought up. I shall very well know how to manage a smooth old Bounderby.
What is your great mode of smoothing and managing, Tom? Is it a secret?
It's you. You are his little pet. You are his favourite. He'll do anything for you. When he says to me, a thing I don't like, I shall say to him, my sister Lou will be hurt and disappointed, Mr. Bounderby. She always used to tell me she was sure you'd be easier with me than this. That would bring him about, or nothing will. Lou?
Do you look forward with any satisfaction to the change to Mr. Bounderby's toy?
Why, there is one thing to be said of it. It will be getting away from home.
There is one thing to be said of it. It will be getting away from home, yes.
What can you make out of the fire, Louisa? Not a circus.
Nothing. I see nothing in it, Tom, particularly. Except that it is a fire, but since I've been looking at it, I've been wondering about you and me growing up. I have such unmanageable thoughts, Tom. They will wander.
Louisa, never wonder.
Mr. Bounderby, being a bachelor, an elderly lady presided over his establishment. Mrs. Sparsit was this lady. Mrs. Sparsit had not only seen better days, but was also highly connected.
She had a great aunt living in these very times called
Lady Scaggles.
Mr. Sparsit,
Deceased.
of whom she was the relict, had been there.
the late Mr. Sparsit, being a
howler,
married this lady. Being by the father's side, they
Scaggles.
Lady Scaggers had an inordinate appetite for butcher's meat and a mysterious leg.
which refused to get out of bed for 14 years.
The late Mr. Sparsit inherited a fair fortune from his uncle, but owed it all before he came into it, and spent it twice over immediately afterwards, thus when he died.
At 24.
The scene of his decease, Caroline, and the cause,
Brandy!
He did not leave his widow in affluent circumstances, and here she was now, in the autumn of her years, taking Mr. Bounderby's favourite tipple of warm sherry, lemon peel, and nutmeg.
Mr. Bounderby, you are unusually slow, sir, this evening with your supper.
I'm thinking of Tom Gradgrind's win, ma'am. Tom Gradgrind's win with bringing up the tumbling girl.
The girl is now waiting to know whether she's to go straight to the school or up to Stone Lodge.
She must wait, ma'am, till I know myself. It's tolerably clear to me that the little puss can get small good out of such companionship.
Are you speaking of young Miss Gradgrind, Mr. Bounderby?
Yes, ma'am. I'm speaking of Louisa. Louisa, ma'am.
You are quite another father to Louisa, sir.
Mr. Stephen Blackpool is in the parlour, sir, and wishes to see you.
Mr. Stephen Blackpool.
One of the factory hands, sir.
Very well. Admit him. Stephen. What's the matter with you? Huh? I've never had any trouble with you. You're not one of those that expects to be fed on venison and turtle soup with a gold spoon, eh? As a good many of them do. And already I'm not come here to make a complaint.
Well, I've come for an out of the kind, sir.
Yeah, what have you got to say then, lad? Out with it.
I can go, Mr. Bounderby, if you wish it.
Now, you look here. You're not to suppose that because this lady keeps my house for me, that she has not been very high up the tree, Now, there's something you've got to say to me that can't be said in front of a lady, and say so now, and this lady will leave the room.
No, sir.
Very well then. Fire away.
I've come to ask your advice. I need it overmuch. I were married on Easter Monday 19 years since, but she went bad, and soon. And not because of me, God knows I was not an unkind husband to her.
I've heard all this before. She took to drinking, left off working, sold the furniture, pawned the clothes and played old Gooseberry.
Well, I tried to wean her from it. I tried this, I tried that, I tried t'other. Many's a time I'd come home and found all I had in the world has vanished. Not once, not twice, but 20 times. I've gone to throw myself off the bridge many a time. And then last week, I come home and there she lay upon the floor. And there she is now.
Well, it's a bad job. That's what it is. You'd have been better off satisfied as you were and not have got married.
Was it an unequal marriage in point of years?
You heard the lady, answer her.
Well, I were 1 and 20, Miss N, she were 20 thereabout.
Indeed, sir. I heard of it being so miserable a marriage that it was probably an unequal one in point of years.
Yes, well, very good. You'd better get on.
Well, I've come to ask you, sir, how I am to be ridded of this woman.
Oh.
What do you mean?
Well, happily, but for another, I should have gone battering mad.
He wishes to be free, to marry the other of whom he speaks, I fear, sir.
I do, I will come into it. I read in the papers that great folk are not bonded together for better for worse so fast, and can be set free from their misfortunate marriages and marry o'er again. Now, I must be ridded of this woman, and I want to know how.
No how.
Well, if I do her any hurt, there's a law to punish me.
Of course there is.
And if I flee from her, there's a law to punish me.
Of course there is.
And if I marry other dear lass, there's a law to punish me.
Of course there is.
If I were to live with her and not marry her, saying such a thing could be, which it never could, nor would, there's a law to punish me.
Of course there is.
Then in God's name, sir, show me a law that can help me.
There is a sanctity in this relation of life, and it must be kept up.
No, don't say that, sir. Mine's a grievous case. There must be a law that will help me.
All right, I'll tell you. There is a law. There is such a law. But it's not for the likes of you. It costs money. It costs a mint of money.
How much might that be?
I don't know, perhaps £1,000, £1,500, maybe even twice.
There's no other law?
Certainly not.
And 'tis a muddle. 'Tis a muddle, and I might as well be dead.
Now you look here. Don't you go calling the institutions of your country a muddle, or you'll find yourself in a real muddle one of these fine mornings.
It's a muddle. It's a muddle.
Listen to me. You've been quite shocking to this lady with your unhallowed opinions. Now it seems to me that you've been listening to some mischievous stranger or other. They're always about. And the best thing you can do is to come out of that. Because I see traces of venison, and turtle soup, and gold spoons in this.
Thank you very much, sir. I wish you good day.
Old Stephen descended the 2 white steps, shutting the black door with the brazen doorknob, to which he gave a parting polish with the sleeve of his coat.
He thought of the man he might have been.
Of the waste of the best part of his life, bound hand and foot to a dead woman.
Or better to have no home to go to it than have a home and dread to go to it through such a cause. Stephen wandered in the chill rain, thinking and thinking and brooding and brooding.
He thought of the home he might have had at that moment with pleasure and pride, for the man he might have been, for the life once tranquil, now torn to shreds.
He farted the waste of the best part of his life, of the changes it made to him for the worst. Every day.
He thought of Rachel. How young when they were first brought together in these circumstances. How mature now. How soon to grow old.
Could it be that the whole earthly course of one so good, gentle and self-denying would be subjugated to such a wretch as his wife?
Filled with these thoughts, he went home for shelter. But when he got there, it seemed that God had sent an angel to comfort him.
Oh, Rachel. Thank God.
I'm glad you've come at last, Stephen. You're very late from work.
I've been walking up and down.
Yeah, I thought so. But 'tis a bad night for that. Landlady came round for me at dinner time. There was someone at the house that needed looking to, she said. Oh, indeed she was right, Stephen. Wandering and lost she was. Bruised and wounded too.
Oh, Rachel.
I know your heart, Stephen, and 'tis far too merciful to let us suffer for want of aid. Thou art not the man to cast the first stone, not when she's sunk so low.
He heard the thundering and shuddering out of doors, and it seemed to him as though his late angry mood were going around trying to get at him. She would keep it out. He trusted her to keep him from himself.
I will stay till the bell goes 3.
How long does it look for that should be so?
Doctor said she'd have me come to a man tomorrow.
Stephen suddenly saw what was printed on the bottle.
Rachel doesn't wear that.
No, I had a fright.
A fright?
Aye, when I were coming in, when I were walking, when I were thinking, when I were... No, don't! Let me see thee sitting. Let me see thee sitting, as I did when I come in. So good and so forgiving. I can never see thee better than so. Never. Never. Never.
When she gets better, Stephen, 'tis to be hoped she'll leave thee to thyself again and do thee no more hurt.
By slow degrees, as he listened to the great noise of the wind, he ceased to hear it, or it became the working of his loom, or even the voices of the day. Even this faded away at last, and he dreamed.
He and... Not Rachel. In church. Married. Witnesses. The living and the dead. Darkness. Tremendous light. The altar. The table of commandments. The word. Illuminated building. Stand. Raised platform under loom. Death. Standing. A vast crowd. Numerous. The world. Abhorred. Not one friendly eye. Never Rachel's face. Rachel's voice!
Rachel! Am I dreaming?
It's all well, Stephen. Oh, I've been asleep myself. 'Tis near 3. 'Tis but a minute.
I'll walk with it. No, I'm not fearful to leave me alone with her.
I am, as I have told thee, thy true friend. Angels are not like me. Between them and a working woman full of faults, there's a deep gulf set. My little brother is among them. He's changed.
Thou hast changed me, from bad to good. Thou almost makest me wish for to be more like thee, and fearful of losing you when this life is o'er and the world is cleared away. Now I've spoken of thy little brother, with his arm tore off in front of the face. Where dost thou ever hear or read of the likes of us of being other than troublesome and unreasonable? Think on it. Government inspectors come, makes a report. Fend off dangerous machinery, box it off, save life and limb. Don't rend and tear human creatures to pieces and Christian country. The onus throws back their throats and cries unreasonable, inconvenient, troublesome, and nothing's done. God help us. We are far too interested and naturally far too wrong to have any right judgment. Oh, happily we are. But what are they then? In the name of the model in which we live and die, what are they then?
Let such things be, Stephen.
Since I say so, I pass thee my promise. Thou art an angel. And thou hast saved my soul alive. When I come home tonight, I was desperate. I was without hope and mad with thinking that when I said a word of complaint I was considered an unreasonable hand. I told thee that I'd had a fright. It with a poison bottle. Happening upon it so suddenly, who can say what I would have done? To Miss Fenn? Or to her? Or to both of us? But I saw thee. I saw thee sitting by the bed. And evermore I will see thee sitting there. I'll never more see or think of anything that troubles me without seeing you. I look forward to the time when thee and me can walk together in the land where the little brother is.
What a mule. No. It would be a fine thing to be you, I think. Miss Louisa?
Do you think so? You are far more useful to my mother than I could ever be, and since Tom has gone to Mr. Bounderby's, you're much pleasanter to yourself than I am to myself.
But if you please, Miss Louisa, I am oh so stupid.
You'll be wiser by and by.
But you don't know what a stupid girl I am. All through school hours, I make mistakes. I can't help them. They seem to come natural to me.
Tell me some of your mistakes.
Oh, I'm almost ashamed. But today, for instance, Mr. McChokentar was explaining to us about national prosperity. And he said, now this schoolroom is a nation.
And in this nation there are 50 millions of money. Girl number 20, isn't this a prosperous nation? And ain't you in a thriving state?
What did you say?
Miss Louisa, I said I didn't know. I thought I couldn't know whether it was a prosperous nation or not, or whether I was in a thriving state or not, unless I knew who had got the money and whether any of it was mine. But that had nothing to do with it.
That was a great mistake of yours.
Yes, I know it was now. Then Mr. McChokenchild said that in a given time, 100,000 persons went to sea on long voyages, and only 500 of them were drowned or burned to death. What is the percentage? And I said, it was nothing, miss.
Nothing, Sissy.
Nothing. To the relations and the friends of the poor people who were killed. And the worst of all is that although my poor father wished me so much to learn, I'm afraid I don't like it.
Did your father know so much himself that he wished you to be taught about too, Sissy?
No, father knows very little indeed. It's as much as he can do is to write.
Your mother?
Father says that she was quite a scholar. She died when I was born.
Did your father love her?
Oh yes, as dearly as he loves me.
Yet he leaves you, Sissy.
Only for my good. I know he was almost broken-hearted with the leave of me, and he will not be happy for a single minute until he comes back.
Tell me more about him. I will never ask you again.
We travelled about the country and had no fixed place to live in. Father's a clown.
To make the people laugh?
Yes.
And your father was always kind? To the last?
Always. Always. He was only angry the one night, and that was not to me, but Merrylegs. Merrylegs is his performing dog.
Why was he angry with the dog?
Father told Merrylegs to jump up on the backs of 2 chairs, which is one of his tricks, and stand across them. He looked at Father, and he didn't do it. Everything of Father's had gone wrong that night, and he cried out that he hadn't pleased the public at all, and that the very dog he knew was failing him and had no compassion on him. And then he beat the dog, and I was frightened. And I said, Father, pray don't hurt the creature who's so fond of you. And then he stopped. The dog was bloody. Father lay there with the dog in his arms, and the dog licked his face.
Now that I've asked you so much, tell me the end.
I came home from school that afternoon only to find that poor Father had come home too. And he sat rocking himself by the fire, as though he was in great pain. And the more I came to stoop down and look up at his face, the more I noticed he was crying. At first he shook all over and said nothing to me but, my darling, and my love.
Father.
Jupe, I have something serious to say to you.
Yes, sir.
I fear, Jupe, your attendance any longer at the school would be useless.
I'm afraid it would, sir.
I cannot disguise from you, Jupe, that the result of your probation there has greatly disappointed. You're altogether backward and below the mark.
I am sorry, sir. Yet I know it's quite true. But I have tried hard, sir.
Yes, I can find no fault in that respect.
Thank you, sir. I think that sometimes perhaps I've been asked to learn a little too much. And if I've been asked to learn a little less...
No, Jupe, no. The course you pursued according to the system. The system, Jupe. There's no more to be said about it.
I wish I could find better acknowledgement, sir, for your kindness.
Don't shed a tear. I don't complain of you. You're an affectionate, earnest, good young woman and we must make that do.
Thank you, sir. Very much.
You're useful to Mrs. Gradgrind, and in a generally pervading way you're serviceable in the family also. I therefore hope you can make yourself happy in those relations.
Thank you, sir.
Go now, find Mrs. Gradgrind. She'll find a use for you presently.
Time went on in Coketown like its own machinery. So much material wrought up, so much fuel consumed, so many powers worn out, so much money made. But it brought its varying seasons, even in that wilderness of smoke and brick.
Louisa is becoming almost a young woman. Thomas is becoming almost a young man.
Time, the great manufacturer, passed Sissy onwards into his mill and brought her up to be a pretty little article indeed. Whereas Mr. Gradgrind, on the other hand, underwent no transformation.
Except what? Time hustled him into a little noisy, rather dirty machinery and made him a Member of Parliament for Coketown.
Hooray! Louisa, my dear, you're a woman now. Louisa, I would speak with you alone and seriously. Come to me in my room this afternoon, will you?
Yes, Father.
Are you there, Lou?
Tom, how long is it since you've been to see me?
Why, I have been otherwise engaged. Bounderby has been keeping me at it rather. Has Father said anything particular to you today or yesterday?
No, but he said he wished to do so this afternoon.
Ah, that's what I mean. Do you know where he was this morning? He was with old Bounderby at the bank. Why at the bank, do you suppose? Well, I'll tell you again. To keep Mrs. Sparsit's ears as far away as possible, I expect. You're all very fond of me, aren't you?
Indeed I am, Tom, but you do let such long intervals go by without coming to see me.
Well, sister of mine, when you say that, you are near my thoughts. And we might be so much oftener together. Might always together. Might. I thought I'd just come by and hint to you what was going on, though I suppose you most likely guess. I can't stay. You won't forget how fond you are of me.
No, Tom, I won't forget.
That's a capital girl. Goodbye, Lou.
Louisa went to see her father on the dot of the appointed hour.
Mr. Gradgrind in his observatory had no need to cast an eye over the teeming myriads of human beings around him, for he could decide all their destinies on a slate and wipe out all their tears with one dirty little piece of sponge.
To this observatory then, a stern room with a deadly statistical clock in it that measured every second with a beat, like a rap on a coffin lid.
A window looked towards Coketown, and when she sat down, she could see the high chimneys and tall tracts of smoke looming in the distant greenery.
My dear Louisa, you're so well trained, and you do so much justice to the education you've received. I have perfect confidence in your good sense. From that ground alone, I know you will view and consider what I'm going to communicate. Louisa, my dear, you are the subject of a proposal of marriage that has been made to me. A proposal of marriage, my dear.
I hear you, Father. I am attending, I assure you.
Oh, you're even more dispassionate than I expected. Or perhaps you're not unprepared for the announcement.
I cannot say that, Father, until I hear it. I wish to hear it all from you. I wish to hear you state it to me, Father.
What you say, my dear Louisa, is perfectly reasonable. Therefore, I have undertaken to let you know that, in short, Mr. Bounderby had long hoped that the time might ultimately arrive when he should offer you his hand in marriage. That time, to which he has so long looked forward, is now come.
Father, do you think I love Mr. Bounderby?
No, really, my dear, I cannot take it upon myself to say.
Father, do you ask me to love Mr. Bounderby?
No, my dear, I ask nothing.
Father, does Mr. Bounderby ask me to love him?
Really, my dear, it's very difficult to answer your question.
Difficult to answer it. Yes or no, Father?
Certainly, my dear, because, my dear Louisa, the reply depends so materially upon the sense in which we use the expression. Mr. Bounderby does not address you from such grounds. Therefore, my dear, the expression itself, I merely suggest this, may be a little misplaced.
What would you advise me to use in its stead, Father?
Well, I would advise you, since you ask me, my dear, to consider this question as you've been accustomed to consider every other question, simply as one of tangible fact. Now, what are the facts of the case? You are, we'll say in round numbers, 20 years of age. Mr. Bounderby is, we'll say in round numbers, 50. There is some disparity in your respective ages. And the question arises, is this one disparity sufficient to act as a bar to such a marriage? Now, in considering this question, it's not unimportant to look at the statistics for marriage in England and Wales and to find, on consultation with the figures, that a large proportion of marriages are contracted between parties of very unequal ages, and that in rather more than 3/4 of the cases, the elder of the contracting parties is the bridegroom. There is, in addition, a great suitability in your means and position. The disparity I mentioned almost ceases to be a disparity and all but disappears.
What do you recommend, Father? I should substitute for that term I used just now.
Louisa, confining yourself strictly to fact. The question of fact is, does Mr. Bounderby ask me to marry him? Yes, he does. The sole remaining question, then, is shall I marry him? Are you consulting the chimneys of the Coketown Works, Louisa?
There seems to be nothing there but languid and monotonous smoke. Yet when the night comes, fire bursts out, Father.
Of course, my dear, I know that. I do not see the application of the remark.
Father, I've always thought that life is very short.
Well, it is, my dear, no doubt, although the average duration of human life has been proved to have increased of late. The statistics of various life insurance offices and other statistics that can't be doubted have established the fact.
I speak of my own life, Father.
Surely, my dear, you realise it's governed by the forces that govern the aggregate.
What does it matter?
Matter.
Let it be so. Since Mr. Bounderby likes to take me thus, I am satisfied to accept his proposal. Tell him this was my answer. Repeat it, word for word if you can, because I should wish him to know precisely what I said.
My dear Louisa, you amply repay my care. Kiss me, my dear girl. I tell you now, my favourite child, I am made happy by the sound decision at which you've arrived. Mr. Bounderby is a very remarkable man. Now, let us go and find your mother.
The marriage was appointed to be solemnised in 8 weeks' time, and the period of betrothal took on a manufactured aspect.
Dresses were made.
Jewellery was made.
Cakes and gloves were made.
Immediately after hearing the joyous news of Louisa's assent to his proposal, however, Mr. Bounderby became uncomfortably mindful of the unwelcome necessity of breaking the news to his housekeeper.
On that very day, he entered his home with anything but a courageous air, and appeared before the object of his misgivings like a dog, conscious of coming from the pantry.
Good evening, Mr. Bounderby.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening. Don't go to the North Pole, mum.
Thank you, sir.
Mrs. Sparsit, ma'am, I have no occasion to say to you that you are not only a lady born and bred, but a devilish, sensible woman.
Sir, this is indeed not the first time that you have honoured me with similar expressions of your good opinion.
Mrs. Sparsit, ma'am, I am going to astonish you.
Yes, sir.
I am going, ma'am, to marry Mr. Gradgrind's daughter.
Yes, sir. I hope you may be happy, Mr. Bounderby. Oh, indeed. I hope you may be happy, sir.
I am much obliged to you, ma'am. Although I should imagine under these circumstances, a character like yours would find it difficult to remain here. Although, of course, you would be very welcome.
Oh dear no, sir. I could on no account think of that.
However, there are apartments at the bank where a born and bred lady, such as yourself, as keeper of the place, would be rather a catch than otherwise. And if the same annual allowance, annual compliment would be acceptable, then I see no reason for us to part. Unless, of course, you do.
Sir, say no more. I accept your offer gratefully, and I hope, sir, I fondly hope that young Miss Gradgrind may be all you desire and deserve.
When she was first informed of Louise's decision, Sissy looked on in pity, sorrow, and in doubt, a multitude of emotions towards Louisa. From that moment on, she was cold, proud, and impassive, and held Sissy at a distance.
Hooray! Mr. Bounderby! Hooray! Hurry, everyone! Hooray! Hooray!
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Josiah Bounderby of Cota! And those of you who know me No, I'm not given much to speechifying, huh? And you won't be expecting one from a man who, when he sees a pump, he says, that's a pump! And when he sees a post, he says, that's a post! And it's not to be got to call either of them a toothpick. But I feel a little independent today as I look about me and reflect on how little I ever thought of marrying Miss Gradgrind when I was a ragged street boy, huh? He never washed his face unless it was at that pump, huh? I watched her bringing up, and I believe she is worthy of me. And at the same time, so not to deceive you, I believe I am worthy of her. And so I'd like to thank you all on both our parts for all the goodwill you've shown towards us. Now I'd like you to raise your glasses and hope that every bachelor may find as good a wife as I have found. And every spinster may find as good a husband as my wife has found.
God save our gracious King. Long live our Lord.
Mrs. Bounderby.